waterproof jackets aren't always waterproof, even if they say they are. Like, I think that's a con.
What you use to train a dog doesn't necessarily...
Would you ever consider getting a GSD?
You can answer that one.
No. I grew up with German Shepherds, so they'll always have a space in my heart, but...
We should just honour the dog that's in front of us.
That's kind of my big gripe with that. Is truly cruel. Truly cruel to get a dog and do. Size doesn't necessarily. Size. That's what I tell all the girls.
I think it was Pat Stewart that said once, you get 3 types of dog trainers. One is good or are good with people, training the people. One are good at training the dog. And then you have the special ones that are good at training both. I definitely fall into the category of...
I would say that the most difficult thing that new owners have to experience is... You have a comment? I have a comment.
You go first and then I'll go.
Right.
Yeah, ladies first.
Age before beauty, right?
Bank that one.
Shit.
Yeah.
What do you... Go on.
No, I'm not helping you.
This week's episode of Caffeine Canines, I am joined by my good friend Emma from Raven Canine Dog Training, and it's a very special episode because of Emma ventured north with her mentorship group who asked some questions about dog training, how to be a dog trainer, some mistakes dog trainers make, and some ins and outs of the dog training industry. So really exciting episode with some really interesting questions, some topical, some controversial. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. There's some very good dog trainers here. I'll answer to the best of my ability, but yeah, thanks for coming up. Humbling.
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Very welcome. Anytime.
So shall I just fire off at the first question or just choose a random question?
Maybe the top one.
The top
to
one.
Keep it easy.
Okay. Any fluffy dogs in the future?
Not for me, no. There's some short-haired dogs that I'd certainly have, but nothing fluffy, if I'm understanding that question correctly.
I think it means proper fluffy.
Yeah.
No poms or anything like that for me.
No doodles. Nothing like that.
Yeah, maybe a rescue bulldog or something along those lines, but
I'm
nothing
surprised
fluffy.
at the bulldog.
Things you wish you learned sooner?
Oh, that's a very good question.
That's a
Emma, I'll
good
let you
question.
start with that one.
That waterproof jackets aren't always waterproof, even if they say they are. Like, I think that's a con.
Yeah. Dog-related things you wish you learned sooner.
Super important, like when you work outdoors. Maybe not to be so forthcoming with information. I know people talk about gatekeeping a lot in this industry, but I do feel like we learn information, like we should be sharing it with the appropriate people, not just giving it away for free all the time.
Mine would probably be what you use to train a dog doesn't necessarily dictate how you train a dog. So just because a trainer uses a certain tool, whether that be a clicker to an e-collar, doesn't necessarily put them in a particular camp when they're training a dog.
Yes, the camp thing's important. Yeah.
Yes. So just because if I'm a fan of the clicker does not mean I'm a quote-unquote force-free trainer, and just because of I use an e-collar doesn't mean I'm a compulsion-based trainer, and that's applicable to anyone consuming online dog training content as well. So
Not in a box.
yes.
Would you ever consider getting a GSD?
You can answer that one first.
No. I grew up with German Shepherds, so they'll always have a space in my heart, but I don't meet enough German Shepherds that I like to justify me having one myself.
No, they molt too much.
Yeah, sure. That's why.
Yeah, that's the only reason why, the molting.
What's your favourite way to eat potatoes?
Every way. Every way.
Any way they come?
Any way
okay.
they come, yeah.
I just had gnocchi, which is like part potato, part
Yeah.
pasta, right? That's really good.
Yeah.
That's definitely up there for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like fucking gnocchi. Go gnocchi.
Anything carbohydrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And besides that, roast potato.
Yeah.
Mash may be my least favourite.
What?
I know, I'm sorry.
It's a red flag. Massive red flag. Red flag. You made a good wedge.
Sorry?
You made a good wedge
Oh, yeah,
for
I
a few
did,
of us
yeah.
recently. Yeah.
Hang on a minute. What?
Potato wedge, yeah. Yeah, they weren't too bad.
They're all right.
Yeah.
What is the most important skill for a dog handler, in your opinion?
Persistence? Is it a skill or an attribute? But persistence, because of things aren't always going to go your way. The dog's not always going to give you what you want, and vice versa. Persistence in trying again with a particular dog, whether that be a sport dog or a pet dog. And I think when you are persistent, you keep your cool more. So something I've tried to be a little bit more is a little bit more cool-headed recently, and persistence, I feel, helps with that. So yeah, I think persistency beats intensity, which I heard on a podcast. So I think it allows us to be a bit more clinical in our thought process. And like even if you're starting a dog training business, what's going to happen is you're going to come out there, you're going to be all guns blazing out of the blocks, and then things are going to die down really quick, and that is your time to be persistent, because the intensity you start your business with, you won't be able to maintain that. It's not sustainable. So what wins in that race is persistency, whether that be training a dog, training a sport dog, running a business, whatever it may be. That's going to be my answer.
I think being able to read a dog and read the dog in front of you, whether it's time to fade out the lure, whether it's time to push the dog, whether it's I'm going to go into the session with this goal in mind. Oh, actually the dog isn't comfortable with this environment, so I'm going to have to change my session plan. I think being able to feel the dog is really, really important.
In Belgium, they have a saying called tiny hands, which is the equivalent of green thumbs for dog training.
Oh, really?
Where we don't have a saying for it, but we refer to it here as tiny hands. And some people have the tiny hands that can read the dog and kind of, they're a bit fluid with the dog when you see them working the dog. And some people are a little bit more clunky. You see it a lot with decoys.
Yeah.
Some decoys have
True.
the tiny hands, and some decoys are a longer process of building that rapport with the animal. So, yeah.
I feel like
hands.
it's not something you can teach either. Someone just comes out the bat like
it's not
with,
something you can teach.
Just good feel.
Yeah.
Like you say, you can see it, and they just move well with the dog. Not just their own.
Looks
with
like a
client
dance.
dogs.
Yeah.
It does look like a dance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very
tiny
cool.
hands, not
Tiny
literally,
hands.
but there you go.
What do you find the number one / most common issue dog owners are facing nowadays, in your opinion?
The information that they're consuming and they're faced with is the biggest problem that they're going to have, because of currently it's the easiest it's ever been to access dog training content, but it's also the most conflicting it's ever been as well. So I would say that the most difficult thing that new owners have to experience is trying to sift through online, in person, and reading material.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're overwhelmed. It's very difficult. You can literally read a book and then read an article, and they will say not similar things, they will say opposite things. So,
yeah, and I feel like you're dealing with a lot of people's opinions as well.
of course.
Yeah.
A lot of it's anecdotal. There's more than one ways to train a dog.
Yeah.
Even social media now has become a semi-educational platform, and you can follow quite literally 100, 150 dog trainers that are all going to say different things. And even myself and Emma might say different things. Myself and everyone in this room might say different things. Myself and Simon, myself and, of course, someone like Southend Dog Training or someone like Zach George are going to say different things. But it's all information that is being consumed, and it's just very difficult for the layperson to sift through that. And I don't think I have a very good solution to help those people, unfortunately.
Yeah, right, yeah.
With what they're looking for.
Is that saying paralysis by procrastination?
Yeah.
And that's the situation like a lot of our clients are in, even you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go.
I experience it sometimes.
Who do I listen to?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, for
Who's
sure.
trustworthy?
Yeah. And that's why I think you shouldn't just have one mentor as well. I think you should get information from different sources. I think that's important. Yeah, sift through what works, what doesn't.
What's the biggest challenge when owning a facility?
Other than the obvious, such as like costs, this place between electric power, rent, maintenance costs. We've also got broken into, so security costs and things like this. We get a little bit lazy at times, and we're very conscious of it nowadays, that our facility does not replicate real life. So it's very easy to get a dog to behave at our facility, but if we lacked a facility, we'd be forced into the real world, and I think we'd offer a better service as dog trainers. So we've recently kind of reduced the cost of off-site sessions and home visits and things to try and combat that. But you can get a little bit complacent and a little bit of false positive when you're in a facility. And again, besides that, extra cost that you don't have if you're commuting in your van from visit to visit. I probably wouldn't recommend it.
Wouldn't?
No.
Would you not?
No.
Wouldn't recommend owning a facility. Really?
Interesting.
Interesting. Very interesting. Because a lot of dog trainers, like, their goal is to get land.
Yeah, it's nice and it's great, and we can do things like this, and we can hold events, and I love doing that, and I love the sense of community we have with group classes. I love the fact that we've got a coffee shop, which is brilliant, and I would love to move into like a big indoor/outdoor facility, and I've recently been looking at them, but it's more for my own personal, that's where I want to train the dog. This is for the PSA club and to do things like this. But from a logistical business point of view, I would suggest operating in the real world and renting a private field once a week to run your group classes. Reduce your costs massively. You will offer a better service, and of course it gives you some authority in terms of people see that we have this bigger facility, a couple of training fields, and the dog room and the shop, etc., etc. But what's the trade-off? I don't know. It's maybe a couple of grand to just run this place a month, so we could literally get rid of that. We've all got a van, but then I do like coming in and seeing all the staff. There's 9 of us here now, and we're all very close knit, so I'd never change it at this point, but perhaps if I was in someone else's shoes that maybe here, I wouldn't necessarily aspire to get to that point.
It's funny because I get asked a lot, if it's someone, say someone asks me, I don't know, at the shop, what do you do for a job? And I say, oh, I'm a dog trainer. They say, oh, do you have a facility? I'm like, well, no. And they say, well, where do you train the dogs? I say, well, every day, like in new places, in real life. And then when I hand the dog back to the owner, all these puppies that I raise, I give them to the owners. They've learnt to listen and all these skills in different places. And yeah, I do think there's a huge benefit in real life training.
Of course. As we all know here, that dogs are not very good generalists, if that's a word. They're very bad at generalization. So the more we train a behavior and copy and paste that behavior in different places, the better. And sometimes we can get stuck here doing a little bit too much on site where we need to be pushing off site. That's why we've just got that big work van kitted out with crates so we can we're going off site 3 times out of 3 out of the 5 working days, so yeah,
getting the balance right, I suppose.
Yeah. And then we're finding ourselves spending a lot less time here, and it's like, hang on a minute, well, I want to get more off-site, more and more. So, yeah.
Potentially change in the future.
Maybe.
How do you teach cooperative play with a dog that likes to keep the toy?
I'll let Emma answer that one.
That was rude. So I manage it first of all, so the dog can't do that, so have a lead on the dog. I did a lot of my personal experience with Rord, a lot of sitting on the ground with him, having him, because he wanted the toy, but he just didn't want me to interact with it or touch it. He would growl and pull away, and so I did a lot of sitting on the floor with him, petting him, sharing it with him, showing him we can just enjoy this precious item together. And then as he got more and more comfortable doing that, I would run away and encourage him to come into my space instead of running at him. When I let him grab the toy, I would do these victory laps with him and tell him he was a good boy, and then just eventually pieced it all together. But it was a very slow, painful slog. And now it's at the point where he will jump at me, he can let me touch it, he'll shove it at me, he'll share it with me. Yeah, it's worth it. The juice is worth the squeeze. But it is long. Would you add to any of that?
The more time I spend with Emma, the more I realise I probably utilise a little bit more compulsion than she does. So your Rord is your bull,
herder.
Yeah, so Stark is also a bull herder, and obviously a lot of these bull herders they just want to possess a little bit more and play keep away, right? So I had some problems with Stark when he was a puppy, and then I will be open and honest in that perhaps lacking the skill set at the time that I had with that particular dog, and I probably wouldn't change it. He went away with the toy, long line, just a stim recall with the e-collar, comes back to me, nothing bad happens, we just play again and you get to keep it again. And my presence doesn't necessarily mean losing the toy, so just a little bit like, hey, don't fuck off.
Yeah.
Bring it back here. Yeah, we're just going to play again. You get to keep it again. Go fucking parade it for a little bit.
The game's with you.
Yeah.
Just to add to that with Rord, I did a little bit of, if he took it away, once I dropped the lead, and then if I ever saw him play keep away again, I made him out it. So I taught him out, so then the game stopped. It's like, cool, you can leave me, but there's no game over there for you. So out, go pick it up, start the game again.
Very nice.
What are the pros and cons to a board and train over a one-to-one at your facility?
I like the one-to-ones. Okay, the board and trains are going to happen quicker. They happen in the absence of the owners. And as we all know here, the dog is a lot easier to train in the absence of the owner, so it kind of makes our job easier. Less contact time with people. The reason we do this job, probably to begin with, is to hang around with dogs a little bit more than we do people. We quickly realize then that it's more about people than it is dogs. So from a dog trainer's point of view, I would prefer doing a board and train all the time. However, on the contrary, I would also say that when the owner is involved in the teaching, changing, behavior modification process, or whatever you want to call it, I think that educates them to a level that they're able then to deal with future problems should they arise, or if anything changes, or we have any sort of fallout, etc., etc. So I think realistically, if I'm speaking transparently, one-to-ones are the most effective way, like home-based one-to-ones are the most effective way for dog trainers to operate. I think we should all endeavour to get very good at that, and then we can, ramp our prices up accordingly. Board and trains, I think most of us will always prefer doing them, to have one-on-one time with the dog and to be able to really test our skill set because it's just us and the dog. But I think that the fact that the owner is involved in the learning process and they almost have a hands-on approach can set them up for more success in the future. Again, contrary to that, I think sometimes when we do a board and training, we can just do a handover and transfer the skill set. It doesn't overindulge the owner with information and things that they then have to remember and recall, and we don't have to make them a dog trainer. We just have to make them a good handler, right? So again, there's pros and cons. I think we'll always be doing both. All of us here will always be doing both. It just depends what you're kind of after as a dog trainer.
I think it was Pat Stewart that said once, you get 3 types of dog trainers. One is good or are good with people, training the people. One are good at training the dog, and then you have the special ones that are good at training both. I definitely fall into the category of the dog. I think it's preference, and also I just feel dogs, I think, better than I feel people. It's probably a weird sentence to say, but I'm better with dogs than I am people. But since doing my intensive training / board and train programs, now I make sure that I do regular one-to-one sessions with the owners. So I'm working with the dog one-on-one, but then I'm doing regular sessions with the owners, so I'm also teaching them the skills they're going to need when the dog comes home, and I think that's made me a better trainer. In an ideal world, it'd just be me and the dog forever, but it's not an ideal world.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
The board and trains can educate you as a trainer as well, because there was once upon a time where I was almost exclusively doing one-to-ones and only training my own dogs, and you're never going to upskill yourself at actually training dogs and reading dogs and identifying issues and then feeding back to the owner. So don't ever get rid of your board and trains, because they're what actually progresses you as a dog trainer. And then, like Emma does too, we follow up our board and trains with 3 one-to-ones minimum anyway. So
It's nice having the mixture. We're always going to have our preferences.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's good to have a mixture.
On the subject of boarding and home boarding and board and trains and stuff, how did you manage to integrate your own dogs with board and train dogs? So see, I'm potentially looking at taking some boarding dogs next year, but having a very difficult dog of my own. Crate and rotate is obviously the most obvious thing, but what are your biggest advice to integrate them properly without them constantly being separated? Do you know what I mean?
I'm a huge fan of pens. Massive fan of pens, like an indoor kennel essentially. So I have crates, I'll use indoor pens. I obviously teach a settle, command place, down, whatever. I don't have clients' dogs running loose in the house with mine, not being watched. So there might be minimal times where, say, I'm going from A to B, we're just coming in from a walk or whatever, but it's all very structured, and I feel like management is a dirty word sometimes in this industry, but it's really not. So I like their free time essentially to be in a pen so they can do their own thing, but they can't get in each other's spaces, and any interactions dog to dog happens outside of the house, so I keep it very managed. I also think, I had this conversation with a friend actually that does board and trains as well. She had her 2 intact males got into a huge fight, and they'd never had any issues before. And then when she broke it down, she'd had, I think, 7 months of, because she deals with really aggressive dogs, she'd had back-to-back aggressive, challenging males in her household, and the energy in that house must have been something else. And so her 2 dogs ended up fighting, and I think we forget sometimes that it is our dog's home as well. So I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping it structured and managed. So I'm a big fan of pens, crates, downtime, and then of course making sure they're around each other outside of the house as well before they come in. What about you?
Same. Lots of management. Don't use pens, but I quite like that idea. Typically, the guest dog is tethered. My older dogs are really good around new dogs. They act like they're not there. They're absolutely fine. Stark would be too much for him, though. He'd probably be like, "Hey, how's it going?" and like do like breakdancing around him and stuff. So he's often crate and rotated. My older dogs are rarely in a crate, but if I say get on the sofa, they're going to jump on the sofa and act like they're not there. They're pretty chilled out, like mongrel dogs. So, and then the guest, is typically tethered or something. If I want to then introduce them, like Emma said, outside on neutral ground. Darla, she's a little bit edgy. She's got a little bit of nerve there, so she'd like have a snap if a dog got too much like in her grill. More like a corrective snap than like a bite to hurt. But again, I don't really trust her too much around other dogs, and Ranger can be a little bit domineering, like you can test the boy dogs a little bit. So, but they're controlled when needed.
I feel like you have to know your own dogs as well, don't you? Like, and accept them for who they are.
Ruse
is not social with people that he doesn't know, in the sense of if you go over and touch him, there's a chance that he's going to say, I'm actually uncomfortable with this. Whereas Raud and Raven, super tolerant, and they're the same with dogs as well. So it's just knowing the dog that you've got and then navigating it accordingly. And it's okay if your dog doesn't want to interact with strange dogs or have rude, pushy dogs in their face. That's okay. And then I think if you do end up with a dog like Raven, like Raud, like the dogs that you have that just don't care other dogs exist, I think they're like gold dust, and then you can utilise them in your training programs.
I wouldn't try and squash your dog into like being super tolerant of other dogs. I think you can create some sort of pressure cooker there and maybe cause more harm than good. Yeah, just like, hey, you really don't have to tolerate knobhead dogs coming into your house and acting like donuts. I'm not expecting that of you. So always advocate for your dog, absolutely, because of they're the ones that are always going to be there. They're my priority.
Somebody getting into the sporting dog world myself, I'm just getting into it.
Yep.
Very conflicting opinions out there, and lots of closed-knit communities. It's quite hard to get into. Top kind of do's and don'ts starting off.
Go find yourself a nice club. Hang on with people you like. It's difficult.
And it's costly, and the travel, and then all the other stuff you have to do. It's like you go to club, you do all the behaviours, but then you have to do physio, then you have to exercise the dog, then you have to give them downtime, time to be a dog, then you have to do a good diet, then you have to have a fitness programme, then you have to do the bite work, and then it just goes round and round. Yeah.
So just start saving.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle, probably my biggest thing. Like, if it's a lifestyle, so if you want this lifestyle or that lifestyle, sure, go for it. But yeah, it's a big commitment. It's like a marriage. It's big.
So I'm guessing off that you would probably steer somebody away from the sporting dog lifestyle.
No, not necessarily. Of course, it's very fulfilling for a dog trainer. For me, it's like the to work a dog of that caliber in those particular drives demonstrates your efficacy as a dog trainer, and it's a way you can continually test yourself, your skills, your knowledge, because even such as a sport like PSA, you're going to need to work a dog in all different gears and build neutrality and build engagement and all the things you have to do with a pet dog, but just on a massively amplified scale. So no doubt it'll make you a better dog trainer. It's just be careful with overextending yourself.
And just go in with your eyes wide open.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to try, I think.
Yeah, I would never advise anyone not to. We have a club here. I want to grow that club, of course. I love the sport of PSA. I think as a sport, it's a phenomenal sport. I'm not familiar with other sports. I've not done any IGP or any Mondeo ring. I have only heard certain things. What do you want to do, PSA? Yeah, it's a fantastic sport, and it'll fast track your skill set as a dog trainer exponentially. So, just don't
make it your whole life as well. I know it is a lifestyle, but don't make it your whole life. Like, make sure you still do things outside of it, just to keep like grounded, if that makes sense. Because it is a lot.
Just like Emma said, open mind, open eyes. Check your 6, and be good.
Bit controversial, I guess, but what are your thoughts in getting a sporting dog to help with business? Because to show a high level sporting dog in something like PSA is far more sellable and far better on social medias than just having a pet dog that's really solid and placid and neutral in different environments. So is that, what's your thought on that, like having a training a sporting dog to help with business, so to say? Because I've looking at your stuff with Stark, it's watching him, what he does, it's insane.
You have a comment? I have a comment.
You go first and then I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah. Ladies first.
Age before beauty, right?
Like that one.
Shit.
Yeah.
What do you go on?
No, I'm not helping you. No,
Go
I'm
fuck
not giving
yourself.
you my answer.
Okay. We when dog training is our job, I'm just being very careful with my words.
Yeah.
We want to make money, enough money that it can be our job, right? The people that are going to give you their money don't care about your sport dog. Okay? People come here and they drop their dogs off on a residential or boarding train. They go, "Oh, you're not going to do that biting stuff like Stark, right? You're not going to teach my dog to bite things." Of course we're not. We train cockapoos and Labradors to walk nice and lead and come back when they're cold. So I would say sometime it can be a bit of an anti-advert for yourself. You're a big guy, got tattoos, you got a beard. People will stigmatize you. People stigmatize me and my tattoos and things like that. That's just the way the world works, unfortunately. You don't want to necessarily be stomping around the dog in a focused heel, because it's not what your everyday client wants. They want to see you cuddling a Labrador and making him walk nicely on a lead and things like that. So it impresses the people in this room, let's say, because they understand dogs. And you might see whatever Emma might do with her dogs or what I might do with my dog and go, "Well, that's really good." But that layperson sees an electric collar on a dog and goes, "That dog's a robot dog and I never want that." So just a word of warning, I guess. But this business was successful and was growing before I got Stark, and I've never had a sport dog or fancy dog, just dogs that chase the frisbee and walk nice on lead and come back when they're cold. So and there's plenty of pet dog trainers there without sport dogs that do very well for themselves. Depends what you aim to be in your goals as a dog trainer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to add, the stuff I do with Ruse is for me. Like, if there was no sport at all and it was just me and Ruse and a ball, I would still have just as much fun. And no, mostly the average pet person isn't really impressed by that, but I am getting a few more people now that say, "Oh, how can I get my Labrador to do that with a ball?" Or "How can I do the fancy obedience?" That's probably my biggest audience. Someone once said to me, a trainer once said to me, that they thought that the value of a good, or the mark of a good dog trainer, was someone that had competed. And I have to say I disagree, because I agree with what you said. I don't think I've seen some phenomenal dog trainers out there and they don't compete, and some people just don't want to, or they don't like it. Like, it's not for everybody. And sport is such a tiny percentage of like dog training as a whole. It's super tiny. But for me personally, I love all of it, and I do think it can make you a better dog trainer, like, because it broadens your skill set. So I like all of the stuff that I do with the boys, but I don't think it's the be all and end all, and you have to have a sport dog or compete to be a good dog trainer.
And Emma's point, how many active competing PSA dogs are there in the UK at the moment?
I think there was like 3 in the 3s, 16 or something in the 2s, maybe similar in the 1s. That's it.
Like 40, something like that,
yeah,
right?
Maybe. Yeah, it's not a lot.
That was 2 of my group classes this morning. It's a tiny percentage, tiny percentage. It's not the be all and end all. And yeah, do it for you and do it for your dog. I do it for me and I do it for my dog.
Yeah. And your girl, you posted a video recently, didn't you, of Zuri just like focusing on you, walking through a busy Christmas market, not dragging, like engaged with you. And I think you got a lot of good feedback on that, because the average person doesn't have that with their adult dog, let alone a young dog. So that's the impressive stuff for people, I think. The rest is for us.
Burnout, is that something you guys struggle with? Obviously, sport world, business world, obviously, managing other staff potentially. Is that something you deal with? Sorry, is that something you struggle with? Do you have a strategy to avoid burnout? Things like motivation to maybe train your own dogs. I don't know. Go from there.
Yeah, I've every year I take a break off of social media. I did 2 this year actually, so I'll take like 2 months off. And what I was saying to AJ, I think earlier, about make sure that sport or dog training doesn't become your whole life. I think that's really important as well. So I'll often, go to friends' houses for dinner, or I'll go to the movies and I leave the dogs at home. Or we played chess at yours, didn't we, with some friends recently? Like, I think those things are really, really important. What's that saying? If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I kind of think that's a little bit of rubbish, because I love what I do, but I don't want to be consumed by it. So I think, go to the gym. I like to do CrossFit. Go to CrossFit, leave the dog at home, and then the standard things. Get enough sleep. Like, I'll die on this hill. I'll 8 to 10 hours every night, because we live a really active job. Sleep, eat well, water, good people that aren't in the dog world, and a hobby outside of dog training if you can. Yeah, because I think burnout is very real in this industry. And I don't have employees or staff members like you, so...
No, I was just saying today that I can't believe how we have Suzanne behind you is employed just to run our social media, and I can't believe how you manage to post as much as you do. I could not do it. And train dogs and do all the rest you do, so kudos there. But yeah, doing something outside of dogs is the big one, which you obviously yourself you do, so it'll be fine. And just, I think I worked like 143 days on the bounce or something at one point without a day off, like coming and training dogs. And I've been really close to doing that, and then like looking after again sleep and looking after your body, and I was always in the mindset when this place first started, I have to take every single bit of business, because of like, I need to grow this business. I have to, but there's always going to be dogs to train. So don't worry, give yourself that time off, do something else in that time, have friends outside of dogs, have friends in dogs, but do something else other than training your dogs, right?
Yeah, my favourite thing to do is go for a coffee with a dog. Just sit there, read a book, dogs in a down.
Where would you say, if it's possible to say, where the line is between this is the dog that I have and this is something that needs to be worked on? So I've heard, people say, oh, my dog isn't very social. Okay, well, where is, for you guys personally, the line where you say, okay, this is just the dog I have and I'm not going to push it, or no, this is something that I'm actually going to work on until it's better? Like, where do you find that line?
That's
for you
such a
guys?
good question. I have an example to give as an answer to this question. So I'll use Ruse, my dog. It was when he hit maturity that I started to notice he was a little bit edgy and just didn't appreciate being touched by people that he didn't know, or that he hadn't interacted with previously. So I did a lot of having him play with other people, having them do food games with him, having him just be out and about around people. I taught really strong, solid obedience. I could put him in those situations, and I did the standard, like rewarding him for good choices. I took him to a cafe one day, and I had him in a down, and I had him tucked next to me, and a waitress came over and she trod on him, and when she trod on his paw, he went at her and grumbled like, ow, that's, I didn't appreciate that. She then went to bend down and stick like her hat, she got to there, I'm so sorry, and I said, don't touch him. I said, you've just trodden on him, he's uncomfortable. And she backed away, said, okay, I'm fine. And the entire time he just laid there and he didn't do anything, he didn't act on it, he just laid there like a really good boy. And it was that moment I decided, you don't need to come to these places with me, because how much do I need to push you? Like, how tolerant do I need to make you of people accidentally stepping on you or getting in your face? And I do think that is the majority of the general public. So now all of his socializing or interacting with people is with people that I trust. So for me, that is knowing the dog that I have in front of me and advocating and not pushing him further than he needs to go. Hopefully that answered the question. What about you?
I agree that sometimes we put our dogs in situations that are more for us than the dog. I've got 3 dogs, 2 of which would love to come to the pub and be stroked by every other person. And then the third one would rather not be at the pub, and every person that come over I'd say, would you please not touch my dog? And that's my answer then. Well, the dog doesn't want to be there, because of ultimately that's part of being in that social situation. People are going to come over, and my dog doesn't want to, one dog doesn't want to be there. If I take Stark there, the other day we took him to a cafe and he was like, kids fussing him and stuff like that, and he's super level-headed with that sort of thing. He really likes it, wants to be there, wants the social interaction. Okay, he can come. But Darla, my Romanian street dog, couldn't think of anything worse, and I'll just be compelling her into like a lot of obedience for something that she's not gaining anything from. So yeah, I think when you're putting a little bit too much pressure on the dog and you're really fighting that kind of, the dog's telling you, I want out of here, and then you're like, yeah, but you have to. It's like, why? Well, who's it for? Why? Yeah. Who's it for?
Yeah, I've got my dogs that want to come and hang out with me at the coffee shops. I mean, Rord loves it. Like, literally looks at every person that walks by, like, give me attention. Like you say with Starks,
is exactly the same.
Yeah, with Ruse, I'm on edge. I'm like, and I can't focus on just enjoying the moment. And it's not, whereas what I could do is just shove him out with one of you, and you could have fun with him with a ball, and then he'd have a great time, and that's good for him. It's good for you. It's good for me.
Yeah, because let's say I go out with a cafe with the dogs. You might think, oh, okay, I'm taking Ranger and Stark. They're both going to enjoy it, but I feel bad leaving Darla at home. But actually, Darla would prefer to be lying on the sofa than compelled into a down in a cafe full of strangers that she doesn't want to interact with. So, just, sometimes what we want isn't necessarily always what the dog wants. I think a lot of people dream to have the cafe and pub dog, and it's really not for the dogs, it's for us.
Wasn't it something like pre-agriculture? I'm sure this is, I mean, I might be talking out my backside, but pre-agriculture, every dog had a purpose and a job. And then after that, we decided, okay, cool, we'll strip you of these now. You have no role, no responsibility, but you can sleep on my sofa and just walk around the block, and I'll maybe throw a ball for you.
It's crazy.
Right?
When you really break it down, it's crazy.
Yeah. So no wonder some of these dogs don't appreciate the lives that they're living, or the things we try and make them do. We should just honour the dog that's in front of us.
That's kind of my big gripe with people arguing about methods, when people are overlooking the massive elephant in the room of, actually, we've domesticated this dog and we give them a life that is so far from what they're capable or designed to have done. And there are hundreds of thousands of people and their dogs doing this, but yet we're arguing about tools on Instagram.
Yeah.
But there's hundreds of thousands of people that are just giving their dog the shittiest life by walking them once a day on a harness, on a prong collar, whatever it may be, but they're nowhere near meeting the needs that are pre-programmed in that brain there. And that is truly cruel. Truly cruel to get a dog and do that.
There's nothing like watching a farmer with a border collie, like a proper border collie running her, like, that's cool. That's a fulfilled dog. Yeah. It's really cool. It's a good question.
What prompted you to become a dog trainer, and what did you do previously?
You go first. You had a cool career before.
Yeah, I was studying university. I was doing law, and I was working part-time teaching rugby in schools, because I was played professional rugby once upon a time, and as a side job. And then I went to university on a sports scholarship to study law. Got halfway through my master's in law, and got a dog with an ex-girlfriend of mine who I'm still very good. She actually works here. Very good friends. This was 7 years ago. Got a dog. Did the really clever thing of getting a second dog whilst doing part-time masters, part-time job, and playing semi-professional rugby league. The second dog was Darla, the Romanian rescue. Had some really bad, like, nervy type reactivity, just as the most of them do. Took her to a dog trainer. He gave me a job. Currently, that guy doesn't like me at all because I left and created a business that is direct competition to him. But I will still always have like a little special place in my heart for him giving me that first job and showing me the ropes, albeit I train dogs very differently to how he might train a dog. And he still gets stuck into me on social media and things like this, but there's no hard feelings there from me.
You love it.
Yeah. And then, worked through the process of training Darla with him, doing one-to-one sessions, and then he offered me a job. I kind of was just handling in the kennels and stuff for a little while, then started taking on one-to-ones. Realised there was more to dog training than how we were training dogs at the time. Again, I'm not going to sit here and bag them out. Kind of tried to diversify my methods, and created this place with my good personal friend Kirky, who's the big fella. If you've seen him walking around here, you can't miss him. And that was it. Packed in the law degree when I got offered the job, just on 16,000 a year. So, I wanted to go and be a solicitor, but I felt the day I was offered a job training dogs like I'd won the lottery. So,
the right decision now.
Yeah. And it's just got to this place, which is good.
I worked in customer service, and it was horrible. Yeah. Because what they do is they take a really bubbly, energetic person.
Accordion.
Destroy them. Yeah, because it sucked. I walked out. It sucked the life out of me. Yeah, and then my mum said, "Why don't you become a dog walker?" And I said, "Oh, I don't think that's a good job. I can't imagine that being like a busy job." And then it just went from 0 to 100 quite quickly. Dog trainer, dog sitter, puppy trainer. Yeah.
Nice.
Way better than customer service. Although you still have to have good customer service, of course. But yeah, way better than being moaned at all day.
Any tips for obedience with small dogs? Does the obedience look different? I guess maybe it's a question about handling.
I mean, you're gonna have to get comfortable bending over, like bending down. Yeah, you can't really avoid that. But no, I'd still do the same things that I do. Like, chase and catch games, build motivation, lots of rewards, spins. Yeah, I'd say I treat a small dog the same as I do a larger one. Yeah, I just have to be a bit more hunched over. Yeah.
I don't think there'd be any difference. I can't say I've trained a lot of obedience with small dogs, or if ever, just behaviour stuff, of course. But bad back.
Yeah. There's a little cockapoo that does IGP, isn't there, I think? It's got an IGP 1. Yeah, I'm sure someone posted about it the other day.
Nice. That's cool.
Hans would hate that.
He would.
Yeah, no, he would not like that.
He's so mad.
But this is not a real dog.
No.
This is a milkshake dog. It's not real.
That's it,
It's a
milkshake, yeah.
what?
Genetics matter, hey?
Literally.
How do you handle off-lead dogs rushing and being pushy when mine are being timid?
Are you controversial with the way you
Yeah.
handle off-lead dogs? That's why you're
Depends who I'm
treading
with.
carefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give a non-controversial answer. Dog dependent. So if I have a dog like Raven or Rord that are tolerant, I'll pop them in a down and go and handle that dog. Or if I have a friend like we did earlier with Georgina, I had Ruse out. I said, "Oh, can you handle this off-lead dog, please?" I'll have the person do it. Other dogs I'll free, so I won't, because I find that some dogs, like you said earlier, good word, pressure cooker, some dogs can load into behaviour. So Ruse I wouldn't put into a down and then have an off-lead dog rush him. I would just free him, because he'll make space and let me handle that dog. And also, and I do say this to clients, sometimes you just have to accept what happens, because sometimes you can have the best intentions in the world and do everything you can to advocate for that dog, and they just get to your dog somehow, and then you just have to handle whatever happens.
I think a lot of the advice given online just isn't feasible. Like certain dogs, like, just slam your dog into a down and then deal with the other dog. Like, fucking come on. Like, how many dogs can shoot into a down
and
under
hold the
pressure,
down.
hold the down while you're chasing another dog around?
Yeah.
Like, there's some high-level sport dogs that might be able to do that, but 99.9% of people aren't going to be able to down whilst I go and lasso this dog. Absolutely no fucking chance. What I will say is it's important, because you've got a timid dog, you've tied a piece of rope around its neck. Every dog wants to be safe. You're a beacon of their safety, or should be anyway. So you must do all you can to make sure that dog's safety is not jeopardised.
Now, there's some people against you picking up a dog, but if I've got a little timid dog, then
of course,
getting that dog out of there.
Pick the dog up. You could put your body in the way. You know, could really damage a relationship should you go and let your dog potentially get bit or something, especially if you've compelled them into obedience as well. Like, you lie down, oh fuck, I missed the dog and he bit you. Well, our down's fucked firstly, our obedience fucked, and that's really put a real big dent in our relationship, which isn't nice. So
there is a dog trainer that did a really good reel about that the other day. I can't think of her name. She's in America, and she said something like, I teach my dogs that they can break it down if a dog gets in their space, because I want them to feel like they can make a decision in that situation, otherwise it can hurt a relationship. And the way she worded it, like, it was spectacular. It was really, really, I loved the way she did it, and for that exact reason. It's tricky. It's a tricky one. Again, it goes back to, there are so many people with an opinion online, but you've got to do what you think is right.
So with the XL bully ban, if a XL bully client came to you and their dog wasn't muzzle trained, or was negatively associated to the muzzle, but the only way they could go outside was on a muzzle, what the first couple of steps you would do to fix that, because they have to go outside?
To counter condition, like, how they feel about the muzzle? Is that your question?
Yeah, or? So say you know, the client has got an XL bully, they haven't done any muzzle training, they've just shoved a muzzle on their dog and does not like it at all, and then are coming to you, but the only way they can take their dog out is obviously on a muzzle, but their dog is having a negative experience with that muzzle every time it goes out, how would you positively associate that, because it has to have a muzzle on it?
I would change the association, and I wouldn't be taking the dog out. Now we have this new law in place, and you don't have, like, there are so many things you can do that don't involve your dog having to leave the house. So you can exercise, you could do bits in the garden, etc., etc., in the meantime until you took that dog out.
If you don't have a garden?
Yeah.
It's really
Well, have you got an XL bully?
yeah.
I'm just thinking of
You could go
London.
to a private field, rent a private field. Yeah. It's a tricky one. Personally, they're not a breed that I've ever worked with, nor would I want to. I like sticking with my wheelhouse. So I know what I'm good at. I know which breeds I enjoy, and I have so many people come to me with those dogs. I don't think I'd even have the time to kind of step out of that. So, and I also think there are some phenomenal trainers in this country that have worked with the breed, and I would feel more comfortable sending them to those trainers.
I'm a little bit scared of them, if I'm honest.
They're big. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll fuck you up
Yeah.
real bad.
Yeah. I know someone that got bitten, Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not talking a couple of stitches. You're talking
No.
like a
broken
life-lasting injury, yeah?
Yeah.
It's the only dog I've ever sent home on a board and train. 3 days in. Nope, not
Really?
chance. Yeah, this dog's going to kill me. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Take it back.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'll do one-to-one stuff with them, do the muzzle with them, no problem, but there's a dog that... We've all seen it. If you're working with them, they've got that switch.
Yeah.
And they can go. And when they go, they're in that
They-
frame of mind when they're locked in prey.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
There's not much you're doing. I would rather train 100 cockapoos with that nervy edge that might bite me than just one of them that has the 5% switch of going, because the 5% switch is that dog can kill me. And that dog that I had on residential had the capability of killing me.
Yeah.
And I've never felt like that about a dog before. They're just so powerful. They are so strong. They're just they got a collar around their neck or whatever. You just...
That is so tricky. And at the end of the day, I still scared. If you're scared of them, I still blame humans for that, because we bred them. We bred
of
them to
course.
have those genetics.
And
Do you
no
know
one
what I mean?
really knows what's in there.
Yeah.
No one knows for sure.
How were they made? Yeah, literally. A question about the e-collar ban then. When it does come into
Proposed
place.
e-collar ban.
Proposed
Yeah.
e-collar ban. What are you gonna do? Like, say you got a dog that like really would benefit from it. Like, they live around sheep and wildlife, and you need that snappy recall. What are you gonna do? Like, what?
I don't think we'll know the answer to that till we're in the mix of things.
Right? I feel
I don't
like
think we'll
every dog
truly
trainer's
know.
struggling with that.
I know plenty of dog trainers from all over the world, from countries that the tools are forbidden, and they all do things a little bit differently. So I don't know. I think we can all have a guess what might happen, but yeah, I think what's filmed will be changed more than anything.
Yeah.
It will be phones will go into the bucket at the beginning of training clubs. There'll be no filming allowed.
Yeah.
I think was it Danny Wells, because obviously he's been doing a lot of work on the proposed ban, and he said, I'm sure it was, but correct me if I'm wrong, he said that I think it was Germany, since the ban in Germany, the supply of e-collars has remained the same.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, people are still purchasing them, because it's not going to be the purchase, I believe, that's going to be illegal. It's going to be the
And
use.
don't they have that weird law where it's like we can use bark collars
Yeah.
in your home or
Yeah.
in your garden? So like what? Like we can still buy e-collars, or what like God knows what's going to happen. So
I'm going to think on my feet. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to think on my feet.
Yeah.
And also, the e-collar doesn't teach anything. It's us. We do the teaching. It's just a tool that we can layer in if we need to, if we want to. So I'm going to see what happens and then take it from there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So I'm in my first year of business personally, just going into my second year.
What did you do before?
Military.
Okay.
And my biggest struggle, and I look at a lot of content from like Tom Davis as a way of learning how to do it better myself. It's relaying information to the customer in front of you.
Yeah.
So if he has a top surgeon or a bricklayer in front of him, he can put across why he's doing something with the dog and make it make sense exactly to that bricklayer and exactly to that surgeon, if that makes sense.
Yep.
You know?
And that's probably why he's successful.
That's probably what, yeah. And I don't know about you, but that's what I struggle with the most, is trying to get why we're doing X with a dog. You touched on it about breed specifics, and you know, you try and squash him into this 20-minute walk a day. Why are we doing all this obedience and stuff? That's my biggest issue as a starting dog trainer, is getting why I'm teaching a loose leash walk into a dog that's super aggressive and reactive, but they want to fix the aggression and the reactivity, and you're like, you know, so what's your sort of steps for relaying to owners that want the high level behaviours fixed but they don't have the foundations?
So I'm quite lucky in that I come from a background where I taught people a set curriculum with every single client, no matter what the problem was. And session 1 we do this, session 2 we do this, session 3 we do this. So I got very good at even trying to fit that round square peg in a round hole, and it upped my skill set. So then when I could diversify my methods, it made it so much more easier to justify, we're going to do this because of this. It is difficult, and it is certainly something that comes with experience, and the more hands-on time and one-to-one time and conversation you have with clients, like, you will definitely get better at that. Like Emma said earlier, there's certain things with dogs that you either got it or you don't, but I think the conveying of the whys and the message is something that can be learned and you'll get good at. And fortunately, you can be a successful dog trainer just out of that. There are plenty of dog trainers out there that we know as dog professionals. Watching them with a dog, you're like, hey, you're not the best dog trainer, but you're very good at conveying the why. And you'll go on and make millions because of it, as some people have, right? But I think for me, it's one that'll come with experience. And don't ever work with friends and family. It'll just kill your confidence. It'll kill your confidence.
Oh my God, my mum, if she asks me for advice, I'm not going to help you.
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah.
My mum has a dog that we trained here. Yeah. The owner never come to pick it up, a cockapoo. He's good as gold. She has it. He's perfect. I've been training dogs for 7 years, had my own business for 3. My dogs are all right. They're quite well behaved. She gives me dog training advice. She hasn't had a dog for 25 years. So.
But back in the day, they did it this way.
Yeah. My brother came round at Christmas with I don't know what it is, like a cockapoo cross. It looks like it's been popped in the tumble dryer, like, and the furs come out. and it came in, it was at everyone, at every dog. I was like, oh. He said, well, what can I do? I said, just pop a lead on it. Do you not pop a lead on it? Like, stop letting him just go around. Like, Anyway, just pop a lead on it. Anyway, he popped a lead on him, and he sat there like, I don't really know what to do with myself now. He started to calm and settle. I said, well, now let's give him some little cocktail sausages. Like, let's show him a good time. But then, oh my God, the entire hour that he was there kept taking the piss out of me, saying, what if I'm badly behaved, you're going to pop a lead on me then? And I'm like, I just solved your problem, like, for free. Like, yeah. So do not help family members or friends, because...
I went to get fuel this morning before work, and I'm using the work van, which is branded up. Mine's in for an MOT, which is not branded purposefully. And the same guy, just a garage down the road, serves me all the time. All right, mate? Yeah. He's down there. Oh, you're a dog trainer, yeah? Yeah. I'm not fucking paying for my stuff. And he's like, yeah, what number? Yeah, number 1 on the end day. Yeah. Oh, mate, I got this cockapoo, right? And I'm like, fucking hell.
It's always a cockapoo.
And he's literally asking me there, like, there's a queue of people behind me, and he's asking me about this cockapoo that barks at the door. And I'm like, try this, and this. It's not going to work. Fuck it. Go ahead.
Give him some cheese.
Yeah.
What about your current most favourite dog page on Instagram, dog training page, and worst dog training page?
Whoa, I won't do the worst. You can all make it. Oh. Yeah. But the big ones aren't great, right? The big ones aren't great, and social media is social media. You see, our social media is certain things we play on and things for growth. It depends if you're like me and you want to sell your soul to the devil. I have. Favorite. See, the dog training pages, size doesn't necessarily. Size. That's what I tell all the girls.
There we go.
Size doesn't necessarily indicate quality. Or
So you use it.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh my god.
Saying this for years.
Cut it. Yeah. Even a small one could be great, right?
No. No one ever said that.
Dog training.
Right, dog training. Yeah, a small page, a small following,
Yes,
following.
small following, yeah.
Um,
It's quite often better.
yeah.
You can buy followers now. Massive pet hate of mine.
I know you're big on that.
I'm
aren't you?
big on
You're
it.
Fucking out.
Oh yeah.
In
No,
like in the fitness industry, it's a big thing. Like certain pages are dedicated to whether people are on steroids or not. Like, are they natty or not?
yeah. Natty
So
or
you
not.
could be like, are these natty followers or not? Let's have a little look.
I love
A
that.
lot of people based in New Delhi here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Busted.
Emma, I totally get your point on it
Right.
in dog training world, because clients, lay
Thank
people
you.
will see
Of course.
your
Yeah.
following and be like, oh, that's
They
a
must be-
professional person.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And it's a manipulation tactic.
I think it's naughty.
Yeah.
It's naughty is what it is.
But even when you grow them organically, it only indicates that you're good at social media, not good at training dogs.
no, agree.
And we were talking
Agree.
earlier, the easiest way to go viral online, controversy,
Yes,
clout, whether
yeah.
good or bad. So
Mhm.
following doesn't mean anything. You might have just
No.
posted a couple videos of dogs getting booted. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's got you
Yeah.
20,000 followers. So.
Literally. I mean, some of the best dog trainers out there arguably Michael Ellis still for me is one of my all-time favourites, and his account is so small, but that's
course.
probably because he's super busy training dogs.
And Bart and
yeah.
Ivan and
Yeah.
Hans and
Yeah, literally. So I don't think it means anything. I think, honestly, the social media that I grow, the presence that I grow, it's not so much for clients, it's for mentorship students, it's for other trainers, it's to interact with other people and to make connections, honestly. But I don't think any of my clients look at my social media and go, ooh, that many followers, she must be a good dog trainer. It's the results that are given, I think, personally.
is what it is.
Is what it is, yeah?
It's,
Don't buy your followers.
don't buy your followers.
Don't buy them.
What would be your last meal if you was on death row?
Fucking
Food, again. Lucky?
No, Nocky's good.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like sushi a lot.
Oh,
I like
that's a
Thai.
last meal. Thai would be
No.
good, yeah.
If you Google like the most outrageous requests, there's some wild ones on there. There was like a guy that ordered like 10 buckets of KFC, like 3, and they honoured it. He didn't eat a thing.
Oh, so that was like a middle finger to them then, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'd have fajitas, chicken fajitas, but like proper ones with sour cream, guacamole, and then I'd want a potato on the side. Like a maybe
Raw. Fuck you guys.
yeah, like a cubed crispy potato, mayonnaise, profiteroles to end. Yeah, tower,
Ooh.
profiterole tower.
Relationship status. Do one for the ladies.
Mm.
I'm married, so it's not for me.
Okay. Unavailable but single. I'm gonna say
Unavailable but available.
that. Yeah, complicated. Yeah,
It's complicated.
it's not complicated.
Looking for a long-term relationship.
Someone who doesn't mind small things.
Hey, wait.
I'll go back. Thoughts on free shaping?
Love it.
Good.
Love free shaping. I think there's this thing, like this misconception that because I love to lure, I don't like free shaping. I love free shaping. Free shape my hold, free shape, might be it actually. But no, free shape my hold, free shape play something, yeah, muzzle, bar. Yeah, I love free shaping.
I think it can build. Is slower. I think it can build very. So when you can almost only free shape a bark, right? 'Cause you can't like compel a dog to bark, and you can't lure a dog into a bark. So you can only kind of free shape a bark, and when you watch dogs a lot, when they get confused, they go to the strongest behaviour, which is more often than not, they start barking. Because they've learned that through free shaping. So it builds a lot of strength, in my opinion. And I think especially with puppies, not only is it good for learning that exact activity, I think that it creates almost like a wider thinking dog, a dog that is better at thinking, which I think is really good. And I didn't do enough of that with Stark, so he's a little bit more robotic in his thought process. I just learned everything, where I wish I did a lot more free shaping, because it would have allowed me to teach the retrieve and stuff a lot quicker, because he's a little bit linear in his thought process, which I think is a negative byproduct of the lack of free shaping we did as a puppy.
Creates an active dog.
Creates an active dog.
Yeah.
More
Ruse
explorative.
is quite and Ruse is quite similar. If I go to free shape, not so much now because I've done more of it since the Hans seminar actually, but I'd go to do like free shaping and he'd be like just staring at me, like tell me what to do. So whereas Rord like free shapes really well, like goes and does things, and I think it's really beneficial.
If you was going to have your current dogs again, what would you do different?
Just with Stock, probably a little bit more free shaping. A little bit slower. Put a lot of pressure on him as a puppy, so I felt pressure on me. So
I'd probably build more independence in Ruse. It's a very mummy's boy. Build more independence in him, and I would have started strength and conditioning and a fitness program sooner as well. Yeah, maybe put less pressure on myself. He was different to Ruse as a puppy, and I was like, I've got, he's a different level than him, and I think that ruined some of our sessions. Not for him, I never let him know, but for me, I think I put too much pressure on myself, and I'm only now starting to enjoy him. And I think if I'd have let go of that pressure earlier, I probably would have enjoyed him sooner as a dog and not hated him as much when he was younger.
Does Jacob consider himself English now?
I was telling Emma a story earlier. I moved here when I was 18. I'm now 30. And again, when I was playing rugby, each year you'd get a representative side made out of all the universities in your country. So like England universities, Wales universities, Australia, you're playing a World Cup or whatever. So I played for Wales for under 15s, under 16s, under 18s, under 19s, Wales like B team. And then I converted and went and played for England against Wales. My own dad did not stand for the English national anthem, even though I captained England at the time. And I left that field with like a face like this. I got beat up so bad. The ref didn't even like call a penalty. He was just like, yeah, you kind of deserve it, you fucking turncoat. And then the year after, we went and played in a World Cup in Australia, and even though I was captain of the England national team, I was benched because they were so sure I was going to get an injury from my fellow countrymen. So I do consider myself English, although my dad will hate saying that, but I've spent my whole adult life here. Yeah, I do to a good degree. I feel more like I'm from Yorkshire than I do from Cardiff, which is where I'm actually from. But
different ways to teach a clean out.
I actually watched a video from Ivan Balabanov, and I won't give the method away. It involves pinch collar, and he gives a very nice analogy of a referee in a boxing match and being able to, when you stop the fight, you can commence the fight, and that's how I taught Stark to out. And touch wood, he's when he has competed, he's outed beautifully each and every time, sometimes too clean, and he's got a nice out. I like his out, so I did it that way. I'm sure there's plenty other ways. Emma probably done it differently.
I actually did exactly the same as you.
Oh, did you?
Exactly the same, yeah. I did try one way before, which was, how you can just make the toy to go dead. That's how I did it with Cole, the little Labrador. And I tried that with Ruse, made the toy go dead, and he hung on there for, I think it was 17 minutes. I was like, it's not going to work, so just let him win it and tried a different approach, I like that way. I swap with food initially. That's how I start. Swap with food, and then I know the dog's ready to learn an out when they won't trade with me anymore. I think there's different ways I like, yeah.
The dog's always going to get hold of something that is not up for trade, right? Mm-hmm. So then the compulsion needs to come in. So
yeah, but I agree. I think that's definitely worth a watch. Ivan Balabanov's.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. So it's not probably ours to give away, right? So
no, but yeah, very good explanation on that.
Are you intending on setting up something in collaboration?
With one another?
Mm.
I don't know, maybe.
We'll see.
We talked about holding a dog trainers weekend or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like a all-encompassing how to raise a dog, obedience, puppy stuff.
Yeah. Doing consults, running a business, things like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Do Roos have a high prey drive?
Yeah. Yeah, Roos especially. He's a little prey junkie. Yeah. So your
I think
dog's
that's all of them down.
Starkey does,
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That
for
was
that.
fun.
Good questions. Thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
really good question.
Nice conversation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Shall we get out and train some dogs? Let's train some dogs.